So Drew Schwartz, I attended 3 Parkway schools all the way through K through 12, Green Trails Elementary, Parkway Middle School, and then Parkway Central High School as well. So Parkway Central Middle and High.
And what happened to you in Parkway while you were a student? Did you have any particular experiences or teachers who helped, influence who you've become today?
Absolutely. I've been, as we talked about, I've been very reflective on it the last couple months, and quite a few teachers really, planted those seeds to help me grow past adversity and also kind of nurture and help me develop. Starting in kindergarten, Miss Goddard was my kindergarten teacher, and she really helped cultivate an environment where we felt safe. You walk in as a little 5-year-old, and kind of the world's very big, and she really cultivated that little nook in that elementary school where everyone was accepted and safe and knew that they were welcome in that kindergarten. I also remember, I guess, one of the pretty formative experiences as a 5th grader. I was going through some difficulties like, many 5th graders and young people do, and wasn't necessarily getting the best grades at the time, struggling. And I remember kind of at that time feeling like, I don't know if I'm that smart, or I don't know if I'm that talented. And Mr. Skinner, my 5th grade English teacher, out of the blue said, "Drew, will you stand up in front of class?" And I said, "Okay." What did I do this time? And he said, "I'm going to read class the story that Drew wrote." And he read my story and talked about how he's going to, nominate me for the Honors Society and send me to this, that, and the other workshop, and how I have a really, I have some talent with writing. And that was one of the first time where I started to kind of look in the mirror and say, just a minute here. Instead of what might be missing in my own academics, that exposure to a strength-based approach that Mr. Skinner instilled really helped me kind of frame my view of myself. And I've tried to incorporate that into my work as an adult, and that was a very formative experience, for sure.
Talk a bit about what you do now in your career.
So in my career now, I am in education still, work with schools and also organizations, helping them, just like Mr. Skinner taught me, to focus on their strengths, focus on what is going well with their aptitudes, with their abilities, and how do you use those abilities to help promote different results. Some of my work, I founded something called Gateway to Change, which brings dozens of high schools together to talk about race and then to build positive action projects in the community. And so, going back to those lessons in Parkway, safety, looking at our different strengths that we possess and how can those strengths come together and be synergistic for the community. So I also do presentations and consultation for different schools and organizations on different topics, finding your purpose, having a growth mindset, persisting in the face of adversity, conflict resolution, all of these different subjects and topics that, if we look at our world right now, some of the soft skills, quote unquote soft skills, aren't necessarily what we as adults are utilizing to bring people together. So that's kind of my role, is how do you help bring people together, help people actually listen to one another, and then solve problems together. So it's pretty exciting to do that work.
What would you tell high school students today who are thinking about some kind of career, either in education or social justice, or maybe some kind of a blend of both? What kind of advice could you give them as far as what they might pursue educationally in college, or what kind of external experiences might they seek out, like working at a camp or something like that?
Sure. First thing I tell them is to let their purpose and their intuition really guide what they do. When you talk about social justice in 2016, and when you think about education in the context of what we're dealing with in the world, there's going to be a lot of walls, a lot of barriers that say, no, 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 this is the way it's done. And the first thing I would say to that student is, you actually get to, through your persistence, through your tenacity, through your willingness to listen to different perspectives, you actually are going to be able to have a hand in changing the way that social justice and the way that education continues moving forward. And so to really focus and honor that propensity to listen to your own internal voice and your own internal guide. As far as classes and and experiences, I would say to cast a wide net. Follow your strengths, follow your purpose, follow what really resonates with you. If you want to take a class on biology, even though you're an education major, go for it. If you want to take a class on philosophy that invites you to ask big questions, go for it. Politics, whatever it is, because I think with social justice and with education, part of what breeds success is when people have an understanding of different disciplines, of different types of cultures. And sometimes in education, people tend to get this kind of myopic, real kind of simplified lens. So the more we get people who have different perspectives about different disciplines and different experiences, the better they're able to infuse and kind of increase all of our ability to succeed together.
Okay. Now you worked in special education for a little while.
I did.
Before you went on to other aspects of your career. Did that play any kind of role in what you do now, or have you had any personal experiences with social justice that influenced you positively or negatively that
Sure.
kind of helped you to develop where you are now?
Sure. So first of all, my mom has been a special ed teacher. She retired a couple years ago, so that was a real kind of formative experience watching her and learning from her. My sister's a social worker, a really good one, in fact. So some of that kind of education, social justice, that was really kind of bred into me as a youngster. In my own experiences at Parkway, we had the inter-district, the voluntary program where students were bused from the city, and it's still going. David Glasser is still leading it across the city and doing a great job. And for me, some of those experiences as a 12, 13, 14-year-old kid, I was one of the kids in the county who had friends all over the city. And they would come over and stay at our house, and I would go to their house. And, at the time, just frankly, people would say, they're different from you. I said, well, yeah, they are. And for me as a Jewish person, it's interesting because I have this kind of unique gift that I was given where I can blend in with the people who are kind of the dominant culture. I'm a white male, but then I also really kind of gravitate towards this notion that we need to be able to stick up for everybody. As somebody who's Jewish and whose family has a history of being subjugated, no matter who you are, whether you're African American, whether you're Caucasian, whether you're Muslim or Christian or Jewish, the list goes on, there's going to be a point in time when you're going to benefit from somebody lifting you up. And so for me, some of those experiences, hearing from people around me and learning at Parkway that, differences are actually something that we can learn from one another. I had the opportunity to travel to different countries as a youngster playing baseball and learn really, really clearly that I didn't have many of the answers in life, and other people had some pretty good ideas, and different cultures are really just poised to teach us things here in St. Louis, Missouri, Parkway School District. And we have some things to teach other folks too. In this day and age, I like to step back here because we're at a very interesting time in our in our world, and I think about what I've been able to benefit from others' hard work and others offering opportunities to me. But I've had a chance to live in Israel, I've had a chance to live in Australia. I've had a chance to travel to other places. And for example, in Israel, some of my friends saw friends pass away in battle. And they would come back and they would have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and literally wouldn't be able to talk about what happened to them. And so part of what I have noticed that Parkway is doing an amazing job of, and other districts around here, is to reshape what PTSD is, because post-traumatic stress disorder is very reactive, and we have to. But what about proactively helping students and teachers deal with conversations in a congenial way, deal with emotion regulation, deal with the ability to collaborate and lift one another up, and deal with issues of diversity, not as something that we have to have a class about on the side, but we embed in every single lesson. And that proactive approach, I was able to go to Green Trails Elementary on Thursday and working on a video that they're nice enough to collaborate with me on. And just to see 30 some odd countries represented, and to see the way that Dr. Summers and the staff, and from Dr. Marty to Desi to just the whole district, is clearly focused on cultivating these learners that are just eyes wide open to what's possible. And as I reflect on my own Parkway experience and my own experiences as a kid, my parents and the district, they had some hidden brilliance, because they were able to just help me see that with effort and with persistence and this notion that with your strengths you can change the world, that's a pretty powerful thought. And, and if every student and teacher really has a small experience of that as an elementary student, and maybe even a bigger experience as a high school and middle school student, and is able to taste what that tastes like and feel what that feels like, that I can change the world. I can use my strengths as fuel to change the world. I can use my persistence to fail the first attempt in learning into wins, ways into new success. All of a sudden, that mindset makes some of the problems we're facing worldwide seem less undoable.
Unsurmountable.
Less unsurmountable and more doable. And so that's why I get so excited working with schools and organizations, and I'm excited to be a part of the Parkway family.